All right, and welcome back to the channel. I'm your boy Toddy Walnuts, and a couple of weeks ago I suggested or asked you guys out there if you would be interested in watching me go through some magazines. And I know it's kind of a relaxing, chill type video. A lot of people seem to like that when I go through some of the books that I have, and we light a couple candles and we kick our feet up and we just have kind of a chill video and just go through some stuff. And some of you guys did express interest in it. So I did go downstairs where I have a lot of my stuff in storage still. I moved in this house a few years ago now, about 3 or 4 years ago. And I'm still kind of slowly piecing together everything. It's a process. It really is, but I'm almost near the end. So I did find a couple books, actually. I found a nice little stack of books here that I brought up from some of the Rubbermaid totes that I do have in my basement. And I decided that, we can go through these today in a video. These are going to be in no order. These are mostly magazines that I picked up. I think the majority of these are going to be horror books, magazines that I picked up at like Barnes and Noble over the last, 5 to 10 years. There's nothing terribly old in here. As a matter of fact, it's been so long since I've gone through these, it's going to be like seeing them again for the first time. So, like I said, light a couple candles. I got some candles lit here. I got my cup of ice water. I've been drinking a lot of water lately. I'm on kind of a crash diet. I'd like to kind of slim down a little bit before the weather gets nice. Got another candle lit over there by the little workshop area that I have over there. And I have the books ready. So all we need is for you to get comfortable, and let's check these out. Okay, so what I was going to do, I was going to dump these out and kind of stack them by category, like Fangoria, Morgue. I really don't even remember what I have in here. I think I'm going to blindly pull out and kind of go from there and see what I have in this bag. The first thing is that's where I had it. I was looking for this a couple months ago. This is a couple of autographs from Adrienne King from Friday the 13th, Part 1 and 2. And a few years ago, I bought some wine from her. I'll show you that too. She had a partnership with a wine company in California. And if you bought some wine from them, it was Friday the 13th wine, which is really cool. I'll pull those bottles out and show you guys. Stick around at the end. I'll do that at the very end. But if you bought some wine from her, she would send you an autograph. And she actually sent me 2 autographs. First one says, "See you back at Camp Blood, Todd." Adrienne King. She played Alice in Part 1 and 2. And I had such a crush on her when I was a kid even. She had that, I guess you call it strawberry blonde hair. Very, very cute. So I thought that was cool. And I was looking for that not too long ago. I was going to put that in a frame. I couldn't find it. And this was the other. This is her now. This was from a couple years ago, and it says, "Cheers to Todd," Adrienne King. And you can find her at adrienneking.com. Not only is she in the wine business, but she also is a painter. She paints portraits and pictures, and she's very, very talented. Oh, I forgot that she wrote something on the back. "Todd, thanks for all your patience while I was traveling, etc. I hope you enjoy all of your wines, and next time we'll do better. Promise." She wrote that because there was a little bit of a delay, but it was no big deal to me. It was like 2 or 3 weeks late. It's no big deal. I didn't really care. So, but yeah, that's really cool to have that. It's kind of like a then and now, and she's still beautiful. Very, very cool. I forgot I had that in there. So let's keep moving. the first book. Oh, this is one that Curious World had sent to me. He was part of the he was part of writing, I think, a segment in the book. It's been a while. I forget exactly what he did. This is a book from November, December of 2018. And it has 100 bloody pages. It's called Scream, the world's #1 horror magazine, issue number 51. I'm not going to go through page by page of every book, just because it'll be like another 2-hour video. There you see some advertising for Arrow Video. We'll just kind of do this quickly. Features Dawn of the Dead, The Redeemer, Son of Satan, Martin, Suspiria. I think this is the guy that Curious World was working with. That's not Curious World, but I believe that's one of the guys that he does work with. This thing is 4 years old already. That's hard to believe. It seems like he just sent this to me like a year ago. But it's beautiful. It's really, really cool. Actually, I think what I'll do, instead of going page by page, I'll pull out all the books first. We'll look at the covers, and then we'll kind of go from there, just so we can see what's all in here. This one is a horror Hound from September and October of 2009. And it has Nightbreed on the cover. The next one is called Deep Red, the 15th anniversary special edition. I don't remember what year this was, but it's got to be at least 15 years old, I think. It's ridiculous, some of the prices that they were charging for some of this stuff back then. Magazines are kind of, nobody really has physical copies of magazines. Everything is pretty much read online these days. Here's a Rue Morgue from June of 2009. It's a Ray Harryhausen tribute. Here is a Fangoria from, where's the month? February, but I don't see a year. We'll go through that one later. It has the Mother of Tears, write-up, Diary of the Dead. Here's one called Scary Monsters Magazine. That's a local guy. I talked about him on the channel before. He's on a public access network in my local area. He's actually filtered in from Chicago. I live right in between the cities of Chicago, Illinois, and Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I live in Racine, Wisconsin. And he does a couple of shows on the public access network called Son of Svengoolie. And now he just goes by Svengoolie now. There was another Svengoolie years and years ago, and he kind of was paying tribute as Son of Svengoolie. Well, the original Svengoolie has long passed away. And this is Rich Koz. His name is Rich Koz, K-O-Z. He also does a Three Stooges marathon on weekends called Stoogepalooza, which I'm also a huge fan of the Three Stooges. So I grew up watching Rich Koz as Svengoolie and as the, I guess, kind of host of the Stoogepalooza. And we will flip through this magazine later. I don't remember what year this one was. 2013 it says right there. But yeah, he's great. They show a lot of B movies. He's a host, kind of like an Elvira type figure, only obviously he's a male, and he kind of plays the role of like an Undertaker type character. And they'll show, B movies from the black and white era to even some of the, Roger Corman stuff from the 70s and 80s. And here's one called Shadowland Magazine. This is kind of it's not necessarily strictly horror. There's all kinds of different stuff in here, but it does have a mixture of horror and others. You see there's The Incredible Hulk with Lou Ferrigno, and then there's Evil Dead. So it's kind of a mixture, sci-fi, fantasy, horror. Here is Fangoria with Sissy Spacek on the cover. I'm trying to see what year this was. It's cover number 321. It's from March, but it doesn't have the year. 2013. 2013 for that one as well. And for some reason I have two of those. Don't know why. Here is Fangoria from April. I believe that is probably 2013 as well, or maybe 2013. It looks like there in the bottom. And don't worry, we'll go through these a little more in depth. I'm just showing the covers for now. Here's a Rue Morgue. The Lords of Salem. Rob Zombie and Sherry Moon. That's from March of 2013, issue number 131. Here's another Rue Morgue from February of 13. What else do we have in here? Here's one called Cinema Retro. I really don't even remember buying some of these. It's volume number 9, issue 25 from 2013. This is a special UK import limited edition. I don't know if somebody sent this to me or if I bought it, or I don't know how I acquired some of this stuff. I don't remember. Here's one called Shock Cinema, number 43. Serving the film fanatic since 1990. It was only a $5 cover price compared to some of these others that were, $12 bucks. So $5 was a pretty good deal. It had an interview with Steve Railsback. I'm a big fan of his. Here's a Walking Dead issue number 3 from the spring of 2013. It's an official The Walking Dead magazine, and why not? I mean, they really did a great job merchandising that series. I mean, they had everything from figures to, obviously, they had the DVDs and Blu-rays and t-shirts and magazines and posters and accessories and everything you can think of. And those two guys were really good. I liked it when Merle and Daryl Dixon were together early on in the show, and I really enjoyed Merle's character. Here's another Walking Dead. I was really into it in the beginning. I think I made it through 4 or 5 seasons, but I kind of gave up on it. It was fun in the beginning. It just got repetitive. I'm going to pause it here I like to break up the segments. I like to usually try to keep them in 10-minute segments, and we're already like 11 minutes, so be right back. Okay. That's because I don't edit my videos, and if I make a mistake, I don't want to be 11 minutes in and have to if I get a knock on the door or if something happens, I don't want to have to redo the whole clip that way. But here's another one. I have no idea where this came from. This is called, what is the name of the magazine? Because Pacific Rim is a movie. They're calling it Total Film, I guess, the summer blockbuster review. And inside you get 4 free posters, which I never used. This is from February of 2013. Here's one called Famous Monsters of Filmland. This is a really cool magazine. I really love these. This was the first edition. It's a $10 comic, or a $10 magazine. It was from May and June of 2013. It's number 267, but for some reason they put first edition down here. I don't know if they did reprints or what. I don't know if these are even, worth any money or anything like that, but I'm glad to have these, and I like to flip through from time to time just to check these out. The next one here is called Scary Monsters Magazine. Jack Pierce, Franken designer. It says the Real Monster magazine enters its 22nd year, which was probably now about 9 years ago. So if they're still in business, they're over 30 years old now. But here's a Horror Hound issue number 40 with Christine on the cover. I believe Christine is a Ford Fury, if I'm not mistaken. I'm sure if I'm wrong, somebody will correct me, but it says you get movie news, comic books, action figures, Blu-rays, and cars. And there's that Plymouth Fury. You can actually get it in like Matchbox cars and model kits. There's John Carpenter. Man, one of these days, or not one of these days, but someday, I need to get to a Comic-Con, a convention. Here's a Rue Morgue with the Evil Dead on the cover. That's really cool. This is from April of 2013. A couple more in here, and then we'll start kind of thumbing through some of these. Here's one called Zombies. Because why not? Because there was a time, and it's still a little bit around, where everything was zombies. Walking Dead versus Zombieland, everything you need to know about zombies and how to survive the undead apocalypse. This one is from Beckett. I only really know Beckett from as a... back in the day, I used to collect baseball and football cards. Way back in the day, like 40 years ago. And there used to be a magazine that you can buy called Beckett, and it was like a grading magazine. You can look up your card by the number, and it will kind of give you a general idea of what the card is worth. It was like a Beckett grading book, I guess. They called them price guides, but I didn't know this magazine was made by Beckett. Here's a Fangoria. That's really cool. Frankenstein's Army. I thought that was a really good movie. It was different. It was a kind of a POV, point of view video. So it's like you're the main character in the movie. And it's been a while since I've seen that one. I'd have to give it a revisit. I really enjoyed it, though. I remember watching it one time and really liking it. Excuse me there, I had to get a drink of some ice cold water. Next one here is a collector's edition of The Hobbit, which I'm a huge fan of The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings movies. I think, in my opinion, those are the best movies ever made. They're really, really good. And this was one of the collector's books that came out around the time when they were kind of wrapping up the Hobbit movies, I think, if I remember right. This is from December of 2012, 10 years ago already. And there was 5 different covers, and they had 5 different characters from the movie. I liked the Gollum. That was the one I chose to pick up. Got like a lenticular plate on the cover. Another good movie, another really good movie, and it really surprised me how good it was. Life of Pi, I went into watching that movie with my daughter many years ago. I knew nothing about the movie. We just popped it in. I knew absolutely nothing about the movie, and it was probably one of the best movies I've ever seen in my life. I really, really enjoyed Life of Pi. Here's another Evil Dead. I don't know why I have two. I can't remember if companies were sending me books back then. This was before my YouTube days. But I used to write reviews about movies and stuff back in the day on little forums, and I can't remember if I was getting, because there's a couple now that I have two of each, and I know I wouldn't have bought two. Not as expensive as these things were. These are like $10 a pop. So here's a Fangoria with Lords of Salem on the cover. And here's another horror Hound with Christine on the cover. So that's another double. I think companies were sending me stuff back then. And here is I think this is the last one. Let's see, yeah. This is a horror Hound from 2013. So I'll pause it again and I'll just like randomly pick one. We'll go through it. I don't think we're going to be able to go through all of these today. We'll save some for another day. If this goes over well, if I get enough interest in the video, enough views and thumbs up and comments, stuff like that, I'll go through this, maybe a few more months down the road, 3-4 months down the road. If I need a filler video, I'll just go through some more magazines. Okay, so my plan now is I picked out 4 that I thought would be kind of a good variety to go through. I put the rest back in the bag. Again, if you guys are interested and you would like to see more, if there's a particular book that I went through earlier that you'd like to see more of, this is your opportunity to have your voice heard. You can comment down below. So these are the 4 that I picked, and I'm just going to go through these 4 and we'll wrap up the video. But I picked out Shadowland Magazine, Apocalypse Cinema. I picked out the Scary Monsters Magazine. I picked out a Fangoria with the Evil Dead remake on the cover. And this one looks to be the most interesting to me anyway. This is the Cinema Retro, and I'll go through that one last. That one looks really good. And it has a segment about Oliver Reed, who's one of my favorite actors of all time. So let's go through the Shadowland magazine. Get yourselves comfortable, get you a beverage and a snack, and let's check this out. It's got a table of contents there. I noticed that there's a segment about Ed Gein. Where was that? Right there. The Face of Horror. I really love these books. These, back in the day, these are where I would get my information. This was way before the internet, way before any chat channels, obviously way before YouTube and any of that. I used to get most of my information from either magazines like this, or I would hang out sometimes in the VHS stores and talk to the dudes in there. And there was a couple of VHS stores in my local area back then. I would go in on, a Friday night or Saturday night every week, and I would rent horror movies, and I would sit and talk to the guys that worked there. And we were all fans of physical media back then. And that's where I would get my information, from magazines and dudes like that. We didn't have any other way to do it back then, so yeah, this is really cool. Mad Max. Boy, did that movie really turn out to be something. It was a independent Australian movie that just blew up and put Mel Gibson on the map in a huge way. There's another good one, Terminator 2. I never really got into the Matrix movies, and I never really got into Keanu Reeves, although I think he's come a long way from his goofy roles that he used to play. I think that's what kind of turned me off about Keanu, is he played those Bill and Ted movies where he was just kind of a dope. But those John Wick movies look really good, and I've never really sat down and watched them, but I do plan to. I've heard good things about them. Charlton Heston, Damn Dirty Apes. Great era in cinema. That's Sean Connery. Is that him? I don't remember if that's him or not. It looked like him at first, but no, it's not Connery. That's Montalban. Just from a quick flip, it looked like Connery. I know I'm a little confused. Bates Motel, 1987. That looks cool. I have very fond memories of sneaking into the movie theater to watch Hellraiser back in 1987. One of the best experiences I've ever had in my life watching a movie. Horror movies are much more fun when you're actually frightened by them. It's pretty rare these days too. That's really cool. And I was going to say it's pretty rare these days to be frightened by a horror film. Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness. I really wish, I wonder how the franchise would be if they would have just kept it strictly horror like the first one, Part 1 The Evil Dead, which I thought was a great horror movie. And then they just got ridiculous. Part 2 and Part 3. It was just mostly kind of slapstick comedy. And I wasn't really the biggest fan of the remake. I didn't really care much for it. Here we go. There's the classic. There's Ed Gein. Talking about the movies that came about because of Ed Gein. Psycho from Hitchcock, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Tobe Hooper. Deranged. That was a really good one. That was a creepy movie. If you've never seen the movie called Deranged, check it out. And then there's a couple of other ones. Steve Railsback played a good role in it. This Ed Gein, I've seen all of these movies. I've seen every one of them. The Ed Gein with I think Kane Hodder plays Ed Gein in that movie, which if you know anything about Ed Gein at all, he was a very small, he was a very slight build, elderly man. He was probably maybe 5'8", 5'9" on his tiptoes probably. And he could probably barely hurt a fly, although he did some horrendous things. Kane Hodder stands about, I would say, probably 6'3", 6'4", and he's probably, if you've known anything about Kane Hodder, he's muscle on top of muscle. So it didn't really work. They tried to make it more of a Texas Chainsaw Massacre Ed Gein, whereas the Ed Gein with Railsback and the Ed Gein from Deranged. They didn't call him Ed Gein in Deranged. They called him Ezra Cobb, if I remember correctly. But it's very accurate to what really happened. And the guy looked more the stature of Ed Gein than did Kane Hodder, who's a Hulk. That looks cool. I like that retro sci-fi vibe. Kind of getting into some anime here. I think that will do it for this book. I'm gonna pause it here briefly, take a sip of ice water, check that out on the back cover. That's cool. And then we will get into the next magazine. Okay, so this one is Fangoria number 322 from April, I believe, of 2013. I like going back and revisiting some of these older magazines because it's like going back in time a little bit. You can see the movies that were coming out at that time. Uwe Boll had a movie called Eaters coming out. This was, almost 10 years ago now already. Frankenstein's Army. I'm going to pull that out and check that out again. It was really good. It was like Nazi monsters. It was, the atmosphere was excellent in that movie. Night of the Living Dead Live. Toronto, Ontario. Romero and John Russo put that together. Wow. That would have been cool to watch. Cold Prey, that was another good one. I believe that was a Norwegian, that's a Norwegian horror film that takes place in kind of a snowy setting. It was a pretty brutal killer in that movie. Really good. There's American Horror Story Freak Show. You guys want to see something that will blow your mind? Pause this right now after I tell you this and go check it out. The actress who plays Pepper, her name was Pepper in the show American Horror Story Freak Show. She is actually a beautiful, beautiful woman. Like, go check her out, Naomi Grossman. Pause it, go check it out, and come back and finish this video. But yeah, you'll be shocked when you see what she really looks like. Doesn't look anything like Pepper. There's Robert Zadar. He passed away. He was Maniac Cop. Man. John Russo, he's still kicking. Co-creator of Night of the Living Dead. He was a big part of it. This now, Niagara Falls Comic-Con. I really need to get to one. I want to get to a really good one just one time. Here's where you guys can come into play. Recommend to me if I could go to one Comic-Con, which one should I go to? Which one would you guys recommend? I'm sure a lot of you guys out there go to several a year. I've never been to one in my life. I would be like a kid in a candy store, man. I just want to go to one. I want to go to a good one. So recommend to me down in the comments which one I should go to. I'll start saving now. Here are the Hellblazer. I have some of those comics. I never really even heard of those before. Here is Is this Sub Rosa Studios? Because I know that he came out with Sex Squatch. Let me see. Ron Bonk, yeah, that is Sub Rosa Studios. Let me see. He's not. I know he released it. I'm not sure if he was a director. It looks like he was listed down below as an executive producer with Chris Seaver. Ron Bonk is the owner of Sub Rosa Studios. Great company. Really love his stuff. I love to support independent film. Cool. Not really talking because there's not much here that I know about. I watched O Zombie before. It's kind of like a zombie spoof on Osama. It was alright. I don't know if I'd ever watch it again, but that looks really cool. Dead Man's Lake. Night of the Pumpkin. That was a good one. It was pretty good. Killer Kids, Bloody Birthday. Watched that movie. It was alright. A little bit let down. It was pretty good. It had some good kills in it. Lords of Salem. Would love to meet Rob Zombie someday. Big fan of his work, his music, and his movies. Here we go. What is this? cfxmasks.com, and it looks like these are kind of like unique masks. These are not characters from movies. These are just somebody's ideas, I guess. Hey, there's an ad for Diabolic DVD. That's another company that I was buying from Diabolic DVD way before there was an internet, or before there was like a Facebook anyway, Facebook and YouTube. I was buying stuff from those dudes a long time ago, back when there was just DVDs. They even had VHS back in the day. Every once in a while they would sell VHS and stuff. They've been around for a long, long time. So we will pause it here and we will go on to the next book. We got 2 more to go. So here is the Svengoolie Returns magazine. If I ever meet Rich Coase, I'm going to have him sign this book. He also has a figure. I was thinking about getting that at some point, but it's a little bit harder to find these days. It was released in low quantity, so there's not very many of them out. This one looks like it's kind of a low buck operation for this magazine, but that's just fine with me because I happen to love low buck operations, and this almost looks like it's fan made. Although it's a very thick book, it just kind of has kind of a almost like a pamphlet type feel to it, whereas when I pick up some of these other magazines, they're kind of thick and glossy pages. This one almost feels kind of like a thick comic book. But again, I'm not complaining because I do like this kind of stuff. But the pages are very, very, very thin. Almost like newspaper thin. A lot of reading about Svengoolie. I gotta dive into this bad boy here. How many of you guys remember or have ever heard of Svengoolie? I'd be curious to know how. I know it's pretty much a local thing to my area, but some of you are from my area, and I'd be curious to hear if you know anything about Svengoolie, if you remember watching him at all, or he's been doing it for many, many, many years, decades. I guess this wasn't really a good book to flip through because it's more reading than anything else. But you do get some kind of retro style ads in here. The House That Screamed. I do have an update video ready. It's coming in the pipeline here. I'm waiting for one more package, and it's from Disney. And once I get that package from Disney, I'll upload a update video. It's mostly going to be thrift shop stuff, but I do have a little stack of new titles. Got a couple Scream Factory, a couple Arrow. So I will probably do that maybe next weekend. That will probably be the next video I upload. Then after that, I don't know what. So I may do another filler video. I may do maybe like a collection overview, or maybe another couple books or something. There's Rich Coase and Cassandra Peterson, aka Svengoolie and Elvira. I wonder what year that was. It can't be that old, actually. I bet you that's within the last 10 years. There's Julie Adams from Creature from the Black Lagoon, and she recently passed over the last year or two, maybe. She was the actress from the Creature from the Black Lagoon. Oh, that is really cool. Robert Englund signed to my favorite horror host, Svengoolie, Freddy. That's really cool. That's a trophy piece to hang on your wall. There's the figure I was telling you guys about. Well, that one says exclusively for Rich Coase, but they did produce. You could actually buy them. I think they were in a very, very minimal quantity, and I think you can only get them like on eBay now, because they do have a website, but it was sold out. So man, these are really fun to look through. Hope you guys are enjoying this as much as I am. This is really cool. So pretty much this whole book was dedicated to Rich Coase. Good for him. He deserves it. That was another one of his kind of trademark, I guess. He always carried a dead chicken. You can see it's there and there. And when people meet him at conventions, you will see a lot of people bring him those dead rubber chickens, and he signs them. It's a very big fan favorite. There was another guy I used to watch too. His name was Dr. Destruction on Crimson Theater. And there was something happened where there was a lawsuit. His name was Dale. His real name was Dale something. I know his last name, I just don't want to say it. I used to kind of keep in touch with him too. He was local to my area. And there was some kind of a lawsuit over a trademark, and he was forced to, I guess, stop his show on TV, but I think he still does a radio show, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe even a podcast probably by now, because that was a while ago that he was forced to shut down. There was some kind of a trademark with something, I don't remember who he was infringing on and whatever, but it wasn't Svengoolie, but there was something else. I don't know if it was a trademark of the movies he was showing without permission or something. I can't remember. But Crimson Theater was really good too. They showed more kind of, Crimson Theater showed more hardcore type, not hardcore, I don't want to put it that way because that sounds perverted, but they showed more intense horror movies, whereas Rich Coe's kind of did like the Universal Monsters type movies that were kind of safe for kids to watch, that wasn't too scary for kids. Whereas Dale, Crimson Theater, Dr. Destruction, he would show kind of like some of the Italian horror movies, some of the stuff that was like a little more over the edge or a little more gory maybe. And those shows used to come on quite a bit later, like they would come on late at night, towards the midnight hour. Whereas Svengoolie would have like Sunday afternoons to Sunday evenings. All right, I think you guys are probably have seen enough of Svengoolie here. Flip through. So I will. There's Zachary. He was another one. He's from Chicago. I think he's long passed away though. If you guys remember Zachary, he was another kind of a. There he is. Kind of a host, a scary host of horror movies. I don't know how many of you guys would remember any of these people. Okay, I will pause it here and we'll get into the last book. Cinema Retro, a special UK import. It was a $12 book, $11.99. Oh, this is a really, going from that kind of that cheap paper, almost like newspaper type paper, to something like this where it's really glossy and thick. It's almost like it's a treat for my hand to even touch it. It's really weird. Yeah, this is really, really nice. You can tell that not only are the pages thick, but they put a varnish on there too because it has like a nice shine to it. They put a lot of effort into this book. A lot of these high-class books are really put together well. Arabian Adventure. This is more kind of classic cinema. That's why I kind of threw this one in there, just to kind of give it a little bit of, variety. Beautiful. Raquel Welch is probably the most beautiful woman ever in the history of the world. I don't know. That's how I feel. And Grace Kelly is another one too. She was really something else. And from what I hear, Grace Kelly, she liked to get around, if you know what I mean. And how amazing would that have been? I would have never had a shot at her. But here's The Swimmer. But it's kind of nice to know that a kind of a good girl like that could be kind of naughty, Not to sound like some complete perv, which I already probably did, but The Swimmer, I kind of went through that quick. I was talking about Grace Kelly and I got a little excited there, but excellent movie starring Burt Lancaster. If you've never seen the movie, do check it out. It kind of plays like a Twilight Zone episode for a movie. And I was really impressed with Lancaster, who was I believe he was in his mid-50s when they filmed this movie. And he was in tip-top shape. I mean, you can't really tell. But for a 55, 56-year-old man, whatever he was in really, really good shape. The ending was a little chilling to me. They leave it kind of open-ended, and I guess it's open for interpretation if you guys ever check that out. because I've heard different takes on it. People have different feelings about how it ended and what they thought was the ending, which is good. I like movies like that. There's the man right there, Clint. Mr. Eastwood, to me, one of the best ever to do it. What a nice book here. I really like this. I can't remember if Curious World gave me this too, or if this was something I bought. I don't remember. Here's Oliver Reed. He was one hell of an actor. Alcohol ended his life early. He had a big drinking problem, but everything he was ever in, movie-wise, he was phenomenal. And the story goes that on his last day alive, he was at some kind of I think he was at a pub either in Ireland or Scotland. It may have been England. I don't remember exactly where it took place, but it was in the UK. And he was knocking a couple back, drinking, and I think a couple of guys, young guys, like half his age. He was probably maybe in his 60s at the time, Oliver Reed. A couple guys maybe in their 20s or even 30s came in, and they were knocking him back too, and they got into, I guess, kind of a drinking contest, and Oliver Reed was already kind of plowed before they even walked in, and he kept up with those guys toe for toe, blow for blow, drink for drink, and it ended up killing him. He died that day. I don't remember if they started to get physical, like violent or arm wrestling. I can't remember exactly what the whole entire story was, but I guess the ending was that he was pretty liquored up, and he had been liquored up for the majority of his adult life, and finally his body just gave out. But he was one of the best. What a really nice book, though. I really like this. It talks about some of the Hammer movies that are coming to Blu-ray. Now this, keep in mind, this book is almost 10 years old, I think, by now. So these have all been released on Blu-ray by now, and probably half of these are on 4K. Charles Bronson, another great actor. The Italian movies from the 60s and 70s, it goes through and gives some suggestions. Violent City, I've seen that one. Milan, Caliber 9, I've seen that one. High Crime, I don't recognize that one. The Violent Professionals, I've seen that a few times. Gang War in Milan. Emergency Squad. These are some of the best movies ever made, too, in my opinion. Some of those Italian movies are excellent. Live Like a Cop, Die Like a Man. So I've seen that one. You can order some back issues, too, but again, this was 10 years ago, so I'm sure those are all gone by now. That's a cool one. The Exorcist. Clockwork Orange. My goodness. What's going on here next to A Clockwork Orange? Something about grapefruit, I think. I don't know. Confessions of an Opium Eater. Alright guys, that will do it. I hope you enjoyed the little kind of show and tell of some of the magazines that I've acquired over the years. If you have any comments or questions, anything like that, you can always leave them below. If you'd like to see, a part 2 at some point, I go through and show a couple more magazines. It's very easy to do it. I don't do any editing in my videos. It's kind of a good way for me to kind of unwind and relax, because I do have a sleeping disorder, I think. Self-diagnosed. I have never really been to a doctor for it, but I've had trouble sleeping for years. I've tried just about everything. And one thing that I really enjoy to do for that is to go through and do chill videos like this. It really helps me out, so I hope you guys enjoy it as well. I'm going to go blow these candles out now, because these 3-wick candles are very powerful. I mean, the candles smell nice, but after a while it gets almost overpowering. So I'm going to go blow these candles out, man, and get some fresh air. Thank you guys for joining me. Take care. The girls were not here today. It was just us, you and I. We're doing a chill video. So I will see you guys next time. Take care.